Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome.
Good
Hi.
afternoon.
Hi, Nancy Jean. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. I'm Teri from Holding Your Space, and this is
Mhm.
Nancy Jean from Nancy Jean's Garden. Um, and hi, everybody here. Hi, Karen and Esther and Willow Love. So nice to see you.
Mhm.
Right? Yeah, not normally on it. Oh, she says, Nancy, you're not normally on a Sunday or a Monday, rather.
On a Monday, no, I am. I mean, I'm not, but I'm here because Terry and I are trying to figure out a series of shows about combining what we work with to help people. Like I already helped her today. She needed to get a little more grounding. So she
Got it.
found her shungite bracelet.
I tell you what, everybody, and those of you that were there, I recognize names right now that were there this morning in meditation, but I was just still flying today, and I did so many grounding things. I moved a bunch of crystals outside my room, and it was just, kept trying to ground. So this is amazing. This shungite. Thank you.
Shungite. It's shungite's 99.9% carbon.
Yeah.
It's if you take it down to its most molecular crystalline level, it's a buckyball. You know, the Buckminster Fuller, the thing that the geodesic domes are based on. Put
Yeah.
two geodesic domes together, and that's what the crystalline level of this looks like. People grind it up and actually use it to purify water from radiation. I
Wow.
mean, it is an incredible. But this is my This is my shungite crystal, and I keep it here in my office because it also helps with EMFs. But it really is. You grab onto uh, a piece of shungite, and you're holding on to something. And it was made. It's a tektite. It's that's a stoner crystal that is formed by something beyond the earth. And shungite it's in an area of sort of China, and 13 million years ago, some giant badass asteroid came in and just blew it out, and it burnt the earth. The heat of it burnt the earth so badly that it created this mineral, and it's all under this. I mean, it was a huge, and that's where it comes from. This is a big piece of shungite.
That's huge. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of those stones you want to make sure you get from a really good dealer that verifies. Yes, there's a lot of shungite pyramids too.
Nice, Jonna. Yeah. Beautiful. Wow. Well, I thank you because I had gotten out a bunch of crystals. What are we working with the heart today? And
Mm-hmm.
I'd gotten out all my rose quartz and um my pretty sapphires and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. And I was like, nope, I'm gonna go back to my turquoise. And then you told me
Mm-hmm.
about the shungite, and that
Mm-hmm.
worked perfect. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that have to do with tying into our heart. If you're not aware of what your heart's for, I mean, I know other than pumping blood, but um, hearts are. If you don't know much about it, go find the heart math uh, websites, and there's a lot of YouTube shows about them, but they teach heart coherence, and what coherence really means is making it harmonious and making everything kind of flow through it. And so instead of I'm going to think about a way to improve my life, you need to open your heart and let the intuition come through, and then don't let the little beanie brain say no, that never works.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, once you surrender and open your heart, it does flow through really well.
Mm-hmm.
But and it feels like there's little things that everybody's digging out of their hearts right now,
Mm-hmm.
little fractals and whatnot that are coming up. But Nancy Jean can run this whole show on her own today because the stuff that you came up with from the Heart Math Institute, I channeled some stuff, but I want you to go first if you don't mind, because
Oh no.
I'm just so impressed with all of it.
Heart. I just put in. Teri said we're going to talk about heart coherence, so I just started Googling with heart coherence, and I ran into some articles that I knew existed, and I copied them. The world. Okay, heart math really started in the 1990s, and it came out of an interesting study that a doctor did. And we had been transplanting hearts since 1967. I can remember the first one that was done. I was in high school, and I was in physiology class, and we studied what this guy had done. And before that, everybody thought your brain, the clusters of neurons were in your head. The brain is your brain, and that's how you perceive everything. And your eyes are wide open, and actually, in real fact, our eyes are wide shut when it comes to what's really going on around us. But so in the 1990s, this one doctor started seeing this weird phenomena. And these are 3 stories I'm going to read to you about. These were transplant patients and what happened to them when they got a transplanted heart. There was a gentle, soft-spoken woman who never drank alcohol, hated football. She received the heart of a biker that had been killed in an accident, and she turned into the most aggressive beer-drinking football fan her family had ever seen. And then a 47-year-old Caucasian male received a heart of a 17-year-old African-American student. The recipient was surprised by his newfound love of classical music. And then he discovered that the donor, who loved classical music and played the violin, had been killed in a drive-by shooting, clutching his violin case to his heart. The man could barely write, and suddenly he was writing poetry. So where was that coming from? And then this is the one where they finally said, we got to figure this out. An 8-year-old girl received the heart of a 10-year-old murdered girl in a horrifying nightmares, and it began having horrifying nightmares of a man murdering her. The dreams were so traumatic that a psychiatrist's help was sought. The girl's images were so specific that the psychiatrist and the mother notified the local police using the most detailed and horrific descriptions from the small child and the memories that was provided from her heart. The police gathered enough evidence to find the murderer, charge him, and get a conviction for rape and first-degree murder.
Mm.
And that's the one where people started saying, something's going on here.
Yeah.
And and if you go to Heart Math, they'll tell you all of how they figured it out. But the upshot of it is we have a little brain on our heart. And I knew about this before I ever before Google even existed. A friend of mine's father, who's a hard-driven, very lovely man, but very aggressive and very wealthy. You can highlight Barbara's thing.
Yeah,
every day.
I will.
They began to understand that there was this cluster on our heart and neurons, and they began to realize that when they operated on people's hearts, whether it's to do a whole heart transplant or sometimes you get cut off, they damage the tissue and you don't have access to information. They make all people who go through heart surgery go see a therapist afterwards. And it used to be, when they first did it, they would hide it behind the thing of, oh, well, we're doing it because you've gone through a life-altering situation and you've been powerless and you need to da-da-da-da-da. But that's not really what it is. They know that they've disrupted it's like if they went in and cut out a part of your brain. That's not going to happen without there being consequences. And so what we've learned is our mind is not in our brain. Our mind is in our system. And only when we get all those systems coherent, and coherent means harmonious and in balance, and that stuff, that's the only way you can really work with your system and yourself, because when they map energy around our bodies, there's more mental energy coming out of that little heart brain than there is out of the big axis.
I just love that because we talk so often about the gut and how that's our other brain, but it is really how we feel things with our heart, isn't it? Like if you're doing meditation, or if you're thinking about, do I want to go here, or do I want to take a right turn, right? And there'll be an accident that direction, and you're like, oh, I knew that, but you didn't point to your head. You always point to your heart.
Right. It was a gut. People say, I got a gut punch when something really hits them. Well, yeah, the disappointment and the hurt and the anger go in the heart first, and then your brain's supposed to figure it out.
Yeah.
And let's see. He said the heart is necessary. The emergent self-organizing process, both embodied in the relational, it also regulates energy and informational flow around us all the time. And they're beginning to think that more of that organization comes from your heart.
This is so interesting, because I do feel like that's like something that we're going through on the planet right now. Everybody is aligning their heart energy and opening their heart. So it's just, it's so interesting. Because I always believe that, consciousness, awareness, it's definitely all about alignment and getting all your chakras aligned, your energy. But then I think the other component that is huge that we miss so often is the physical component.
Right.
And that's important. We're on the 3D still. Well, some of us are. Most of the time.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of it's the fact that when you were little and you felt something was wrong, you were probably told, no, it's not.
Yeah. Right? Hey, Dr. Gail. So thinking and clarity impacted. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And, if when it's really open and it's humming and it's flowing the way the information should, because when your brain gets gets really running and starts running the show, and your heart, you don't listen to your heart and you don't pay attention to it, you'll build up a lot of cortisol in your body, and cortisol, among other things, it makes it almost impossible to lose weight if your cortisol level gets too high, which
hello.
It's just, it's that, and there are other peptides that go all over your body and inform you, that come out of your heart, and they don't cause that. So if you can get your heart to start running your head instead of your head running your heart, then you will find your body is hormonally going to get calmer. And girls, we all know what hormones can do to us.
Oy vey, right? Just crazy. Well, I wonder what this has to do with the vagal nerve too, because I know that's.
Yeah, they're looking at a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, because that is so effective with your heart, because when you're working with that, your heart beats more regularly, your blood pressure goes down. I mean, it's just huge how that works. It's so interesting. Yeah. Barbara says, trusting myself has been a healing journey. I listened to the gaslighting growing up. Right? Yeah, Barbara, that limited belief system and the constructs that we're raised with, just from society. Even if you have a beautiful childhood, society brings in all these things, and television and whatnot, that ways we're supposed to think, ways we're supposed to look, things we're supposed to have. And it's
as much what you're not supposed to be. With it,
Yeah.
with me, it was you 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 shouldn't protect yourself from all those people that you should protect yourself from. I mean, they're spreading out negative vibes, and that's not where your soul is supposed to live. I mean, COVID, it was horrible, and people died and everything else, but it's the biggest gift to me because it took me out of the world, and I didn't have to constantly be building up defensive walls to keep that energy away from me. I went in a grocery store. It was about a year ago. I went to a grocery store for the first time since the world stopped in February. Well, my world stopped in February. I know everybody else officially stopped in March of 2020. And it was so overwhelming. I almost felt like when you see a scene in a movie where someone's panicking and there's a fisheye lens, that's almost what it felt like.
Wow, Karen. Okay, so the vagus nerve actually wraps around the aorta as it travels through the body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Karen, because that makes so much sense. Because I know it has so much to do with it. Wow. Okay, love that. Love that. Yeah, it is weird, isn't it, when we can go back out and seeing people hug people, and you're like, because I remember watching movies when we were sequestered, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like you'd see people kissing each other and stuff like that, and hugging, going to dinners and saying, "Oh, hello, hello, hello," and you're like, well, that's got to change. They can't do that anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but now we can. It's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can. And I remember the other one I remember is we have a really incredible hardware store that also has a post office in it. And I would stop there because the other post office was always so crowded with people. So if
Yeah.
I really had to mail something, and I mailed a lot of stuff, I would go to Elliot's and mail from there. And I was waiting for the lady to figure out postage for something for me. And this young woman was standing near me, and she was all confused, and she was a designer, and she was trying to figure something small enough that she could get little test boards for color to do a bigger swatch than just the little things they give you. And I said, "Oh, hon, I used to run a business where I did faux finishes, and I would come into Elliot's and go back to sheetrock and ask them to cut you 1x1 or 2x2s, depending on what you want. And they'll do it for you here. You don't have to worry about sawing it or anything. They'll just cut up and they'll just charge you for the sheetrock." And she said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." So she went back there and found out, and they were cutting her up a bunch of sample boards. She needed about 30. And she decided, she told me she decided 2x2. And we were just, we're standing that sort of required 5 feet. And she reached over and she said, "I have to hug you." She said, "I have been troubling after this for weeks." She hugged me, and I realized that's the first time a person had hugged me.
Oh.
And I thought, that was so weird, So, yeah, and old oil painters going into the post office now. Okay, this is the part you liked, Teri, when I was going through some of the documents I dug up. When your system's functioning together in harmony, you'll see a great improvement in the overall you. You'll be less sick, have more energy, and accomplish your daily tasks. Because when your heart and your heart's in coherence, when your body's in coherence with your heart, instead of saying, "This is going to tell me what I need to do," it reduces stress and anxiety. That's a reduction of the cortisol. It boosts your immune system. It releases the anti-aging hormone DHEA. It enhances the functioning of your nervous and your digestive system. It improves the quality of your sleep, and it just boosts your energy level. When you achieve this state, these will be the 3 things you will notice immediately: enhancement of focus and concentration, improvement in learning, and improvement in problem solving. Those will become 3 things you begin to do again. And I can remember times in my life when I couldn't do those things either. And if you develop intelligence about the intelligence that's in your heart, and you allow it to open up. When they do energy scans around our body, we have a much bigger ring parallel near our heart than we do in our head. And if you, I guess the term should be heart-based living instead of brain-based living. And there is the problem of the second you start opening up your heart, you find out there's a whole lot of gooky pain in there. But it's not going to go away because, and the reason it's all suppressed is because your brain has squished it down. I mean, the energy, that our perception of the world coming only from these eyes, which once you get your heart opened up, you find out that these eyes can be wide shut.
Yeah.
Nothing there. And it what's when they're out of balance, it's because they're not in sync with each other. I'm not saying, you can't cut your head off here and keep going. But it's that the brain has never bothered to synchronize with the heart.
Interesting. I love that. I love that.
So you were going to channel some stuff? I mean, unless
Yeah.
people have questions.
Yeah. Let me talk about it. And Willow is saying that she's been having a hard time sleeping because of all the energy coming in. So Willow, honey, I hope, 48 hours with no sleep between restless eggs, pins and needles all over the body, and just plain tired. So I think a lot of us are going through that right now, Willow love.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a lot. So please, if you need to, go see your doctor. But there is a lot coming in. There's a lot of energy coming in. And I feel like a lot of us are starting to, like, you feel like you've done this work, you've been on this path, and then all of a sudden something will come up.
It all blows up on you. It's not going where you thought you were going.
Right? And you think, and then we get into the throat chakra and we start thinking, we start judging ourselves like, oh, I'm not on the path I thought I was, or I'm not as, as spiritual as I thought I was, or something, instead of thinking, wow, reacting with curiosity and thinking, this is very interesting. What's going to happen here? And how can we go forward here? Or what does that mean to my story? I had something like this happen this week, and I had some friends over, and it was like some things that happened years ago that really hurt my feelings. And it was like, and then I realized that they had never heard me, that they just didn't listen. And I'm like, wow, I changed that they weren't cognitively thinking, I'm not going to listen to her, she doesn't matter. And instead, it's just the way that their brain's working.
Yeah,
I can let it all go.
I used to write plays when I was in high school and college. And one of the things I learned in writing plays is the plot's not always about you.
Yeah.
And how do those characters deal with it? And those used to always be my most lost little characters, was the ones that thought the plot was about, they thought they were the lead. And they didn't understand that the other characters had their parts to play.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Okay. So Willow loves saying the same thing. Yeah. Your past is resurfacing like crazy. And you're thinking, I've already worked through this. Exactly. So, yeah, Maria, new layers coming in. Definitely. Okay. And I'll go ahead.
Look at it this way. I didn't even know about heart math coherence. I didn't know any of this stuff. I did know enough about chakras and things to kind of have some functioning knowledge of them. And I started going through my chakras, and I began to realize that my heart was blocked. And by being, it really, I could have the best ideas. I could develop them creatively. I could get everything working in the solar plexus. And then that energy would hit my heart and it just stopped. It just went nowhere. Or I could filter some of the best impressions and the best intuitions through the top of my head, and I could see them clearly with my third eye, and I could talk to people all day about them, but then they'd hit my heart and they'd go nowhere. And when I started tearing that apart, I realized that, guys, you don't see it because when I walked up, well, I'd started losing weight before the world stopped, but I was looking at things and I decided that I weighed over 320 pounds. And I'm no light little thing now, but man, you wouldn't have believed it. And I realized I had built a fort fat around me to stop other people's energy from coming in, and that it was actually by screwing around with my heart. So I concentrated on tearing down the fort fat, and a lot of pain and anger and not being heard, lots of situations like that all came pouring out of it. And just as I got to the point, now I was still 320 pounds, but when I was beginning to cope with all that, I began to realize that I had to figure out something about eating. And I tried a couple different things and they were yo-yo things. And that's even more frustrating. So I got in, it worked for me, and don't judge, but I did keto. And I didn't announce it to anybody. I didn't let all the other organs that had always gotten so far and then stopped. I just started doing it on my own. And since I only cooked for my daughter, I'd make the food I wanted to eat, and then I'd throw in the couple things that she liked. And when I first started this channel in December of 2020, I went 199.9 pounds. I actually have a show where I showed it on the scale and said, this is what I weigh. That was from 320.
Wow, good job.
So tearing it down, you say, I keep layering things on. Don't think about it as layering it on. Think about it as letting it go.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Letting it go.
Mhm.
Liz, we are all wounded healers, helping others as we heal our own. We are a holograph of the whole.
Mhm.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, I'll go through what I
Your stuff.
yeah, my stuff. So number one, I probably already said this before, but in a lot of my meditations right now, it's about the heart chakra, and it's about the high heart
Mhm.
chakra in between your throat and your heart chakra.
Mhm.
So they're talking about opening up our heart chakra. And as we open it, imagine smoke and shadows coming out.
Mhm.
Like when we breathe in and breathe out, breathe in love, let go through the mouth, and
Mhm.
just see that smoke coming out, that CO2. It's released. What looks like little fractals of ourself, what looks like little wounds or tears. So whatever that might look like, if it's brown or if it's charcoal. And it says, be gentle with yourself afterwards. It's we're letting go of ego and judgment. Let the grief and old judgments, old limited belief systems. And they're talking about bullies. Like we'll remember when we felt like we were bullied,
Mhm.
or perhaps we bullied somebody, because as kids, that's how we learn, and we may have been on either side of that. A child, a sibling, a parent. So just kind of inhaling into that in your heart space, and if you see it, releasing it with that vision. And then Florence and the Machine, one of my favorite songs. The dog days are over. Only I always thought it was the dark days are over. So that's what my guides always sing to me. So the dark days are over now. And they're talking about the horse coming in, but the horse, it looks like a dragon. It's kind of shape shifting into dragons coming in now.
Mhm.
So run fast for your children, run fast for your sisters and brothers. So just reconnecting, and that means reconnecting with different parts of yourself as children, like that child that had something happen and we didn't know how to cope with it. We didn't know what to say. So we stopped talking. Like we swallowed it. So releasing all of that. And then they're talking about crystals coming in and frequencies to hold your high heart, like pink, aquamarine, purple. So making sure that sometimes even holding that physical color or that physical stone in your heart, but also imagine when you're meditating, like redoing your DNA, your spirit DNA and your emotional DNA and your physical DNA, entertainment only, by putting those crystals in your heart, just seeing them inside your high heart and seeing the different colors and kind of playing with it when you do, like what that looks like. Okay, if I'm going to put rose quartz in my heart right now and breathe into that, what does it feel like after you've let go of that hurt? Like if you let go of something, you have to take something else in. It's an energy exchange. So watching it when it comes in and what it feels like. And then asking your soul questions. Who am I? Like, who am I when I'm that hurt child? Who am I when I have that rose quartz and I'm filled with love? And then also, they talk after that about I am that. So I am that is like a new important soul thing to say somehow, but they keep talking about I am that, like as in I am everything. I am light. So they're talking about the 90-20 thing where when we have toxic relationships or bad news that comes in, a lot of times that's 90% of what we remember. We don't remember the 10% that's good. A lot of people, and that's kind of like what we were talking about with limited belief systems. So switching that so that what we remember and the energy that we take in and the energy that we feel, I am that I am, Barbara. I love that. So the energy that we feel is 90% of the good energy coming in. Not that you're not aware of the dark stuff that comes in or the dark stuff that's out there. Because we don't want to repress anything, but that this is the energy that we're keeping inside, flipping it in the heart. So finding a still point where we can, as in stillness, where we can abide, because there's so many times that we're so busy, either we're floating, like Willow was talking about. Willow, I've been through that a lot lately where I feel like I'm just floating above everything. And that's why I've got my Shung guide on today. So abiding in your heart space. And what does that feel like right now? What is the nature of what's going on in my heart? And if it doesn't feel good, questioning that, like, and then bringing in a different color, perhaps visualizing something. So abiding, something about a past life, come into it. So breathe and crystals remind us. So that's it.
Well, I'm going to be doing a show on Thursday, and right now it's just me. I'm not sure if others are showing up or not, but it's going to be past lives. We're looking at past lives, and on this planet. If Dr. Gale comes, we can do him off the planet, but I have nothing to do with that. But I do this periodically. I go exploring in my YouTube, the part of the channel that only I can see. And I once again found a whole cache of comments. And I stopped thanking people for bothering to comment to me when I got into 11 months ago. I mean, and I'd already done this twice, but these are, and I'm like, where'd this all come from? YouTube and I don't get along. it's nice to get in your homes, but it's not the one. And one of the things is, one of the reasons I was really hesitant at first about working with past lives was I was really afraid people are going to use that as an excuse for now. Oh, well, I was such a wretched person in the 1600s. Who could possibly love me now? And I'm like, no, it's not why it's there. It's there to enlighten you. It's there to let you feel. I mean, one of the most incredible past lives I ever did, I did this woman who had been so stellar in the life before this one that they sent her back in to teach other people how to be stellar in this life. And she accepted that. Other people are, no, tell me when I was a miserable wretch. Well, you may have been, but that was then and this is now. And you do not have to be chained by past lives. And I think that's one of the things that in the enlightening times we're going through now in assessing our whole being from day one is it's a chance to marry those two things and get rid of what doesn't work, and or take it as a warning. I have a close friend her past life was, she was in Georgian England. She was literally sold to an old man and she was living out in this incredible Georgian mansion like you see and all fixed up. And she, in remembering it, that how she felt in that past life, she hated it. She hated everything about it. And she ended up dying, giving birth to his son. The baby didn't make it either. And when the reason I know about this is because she said, you were in that life. And I said, was I the wretched old man or who? And she said, no, when I was dying and they knew I was dying and they just left me to die. And they'd left the dead baby in the room too. She said, the only person in the room with me was my servant. And the person who was doing the past life with her said, you know this person. And she said, it's Nancy. She could see the part of me that she and the weird thing is, this woman and I in this life ended up into my least favorite term, geriatric pregnancies. And we ended up in the high risk ward, and we ended up rooming together in the same room for 6 weeks before her daughter was born. And then she had to obviously go home with the baby. And then I stayed on a little bit longer, and I had a perfectly healthy baby, and so did she. So apparently this is what we needed. We needed to be hospitalized in this century to make it through. But so you'll recognize a lot of people that you deal with now. And she has been, when I met her, it was when you meet someone and you just can't figure out why you can't lose this person no matter what you do. And I mean, not that you want to lose them, but it's just like other people would have fallen to the wayside a long time ago. She never did. And we now know why. Because and she's had other past life regressions that I wasn't in.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. There are so many, let's see what Willow's saying here.
Future memory.
Yeah.
That's
other people fascinated by past lives that you were involved with a research group for 10 years. Now I'm more interested in future memory.
That's true. Because, unless you're learning stuff from it, just, and the other thing is, if all time really happens at once, we're getting quantum here, guys. If all time happens at once, then theoretically we should be able to do future lives, where we're headed.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, because it's there.
Yeah. There's that's interesting. So I did do a future life regression recently, and that's where they showed me the high heart.
Okay.
And and I was in a dimension, and that's what we did. We were working with the energy of the universe
Mm-hmm.
and helping to change frequencies and putting in different stones and working with that. So it was really interesting, but it's kind of like, I agree with you, like looking at it out of curiosity, like I was this or I was that, or looking at people and saying, well, karma's going to get them, you know, if they learn their lesson. It's all about learning the lesson, isn't it?
So obviously, karma is going to get them
Yeah.
if they're going to learn the lesson.
Yeah. But it's not really punishment. It's not punishment based. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's totally learning based, I feel like. Like, yeah, if you do something horrible to something, you're probably going to feel something horrible so that you can learn from it, not so that you're punished by it.
No.
So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Teresa, honey. Yeah. I get you. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm suicidal, but I really don't want a body again. I just want to observe. Yeah.
You can do that. Go over to the other side and just stand there.
Yeah. Yeah. It does in a way, Nancy. I love PMH Atwater's book, Future Memory, which is very enlightening.
Mm-hmm. I
Nice.
just wrote it down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Great discussion. Yeah. Karma can be a real bummer anyway. And here's another thing too, is that sometimes when we come into this planet and we have a lot of trauma in our lives and go through a lot, it's not necessarily our past karma that we're burning up, but we're burning up the karma of the planet
Mm-hmm.
right now, like clearing the frequency for everybody on the planet. So sometimes we think, what did I do in a past life? I mean, what was I thinking, you know? And and then you find yourself in all these situations. And I know a lot of you as light workers are here to give light to people. So you've probably thought that before. You've been through certain things and you're like, well, what did I do? And it's not. It's like you signed up to help everybody.
Well, we signed up to do our light work,
Yeah.
but if somebody's energy is like the bottom of a coal mine,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to waste. And I mean, this is arrogant as hell, but light workers think I have to fix everybody that's walking around. You absolutely do not have to fix everybody. You can look at somebody and you can show them an example of what the life should be. And if being around them means you're not a good example, then maybe that's a hint.
Yeah. 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 Boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yeah. Lots of boundaries. Yeah. Yeah. There are certain places I don't want to go into. And I know that, like, even if you're like spiritually, if you're looking into, or you're looking at things around the planet, maybe, or around the universe, perhaps, if you're Dr. Gal, and you're going places and you're looking at situations, sometimes you get into that icky, sticky, muddy energy, and you're like, honey, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not going to be around it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Teresa, it is really hard to emphasize that if you don't know what other people might feel like in their heart. Yeah, completely. So, well, we've got a few minutes left. We can do a few things if we wanted to, some questions. There aren't a lot of questions yet. I love what Lori said earlier. Is this the time for our brain and heart to meet the high heart, absorbing in with our new chakras also? This is making so much sense. My heart broke when I was 6. Oh, wow, honey. I think so. I feel like this is a good time for it. What do you think, Nancy Jean?
Yeah, and it really is a matter of tying the energy systems, however they function through you, up and figuring out where it doesn't hurt. I've just come out of I had a trauma right around Christmas where I fell down. And I know everybody's, oh, you fell down. On 2 artificial knees, I wonked my head. I had to go back to walking with a cane, which is an incredibly step backwards. I had to go back and look at that whole part of my life. And it really shook me. And so I was having a lot of trouble waking up, a lot of things I do regularly that keep me in a good present state of mind. My mind was every place but in the present. It did not want to be here. And Teri and I were discussing different tricks that I try to do. And I was showing her, I didn't know people didn't know about these. These are called impact cards. And there's affirmations in there, there's actions you can take, and then there's and challenges you can, and they're not heavy duty challenges, but if you pull one a day, it automatically pulls you out of getting into what I was doing, which was in part a pity party. I've also been told by my guides it's an incredible download. And as tomorrow is the vernal equinox, and we have spring, it just seems a day early, guys, because it's a leap year. That's my show tomorrow. It's going to be all about what crystals you want to grab on to help you do your spring cleaning.
Oh, I love that.
And so, but, and it doesn't all happen at once. And you say, well, I'm just not going to ever do that again. And then you do it. Like this year, my body decided it doesn't like coffee, and it has the most astounding after effects through my digestive system. It took me a while to figure out it was coffee that was doing it. And yet the other night I went out with my son, and I do like espresso martinis. And so I thought, oh, well, it can't be that bad. I'll just have one. It was that bad.
Oh, man.
And but I thoroughly enjoyed that martini before. Yeah. I thoroughly did not enjoy the after effects, but so this time I really am I've dug all the tea out of my cupboards, and I've got it all lined up just in case I'm ever tempted again.
Yeah. There's mushroom coffee. Have you tried that yet? It doesn't have coffee bean in it. It's made from ground mushrooms.
I haven't tried it, but I know there's a friend of mine swears by Lion Mane coffee.
Yeah.
That's the one they use.
Yeah. My daughter got us some to put it in our coffee. Mm-hmm. And but I was thinking about I could do that without. Yeah, totally.
MCT oil is another one that will you can if you take it in the morning in like your hot tea or your coffee, it immediately goes to your brain. That's the fuel your brain uses to be its absolute best. So I use that to get around the effect of the MCT oil.
MCT.
It's mid-chain triglyceride oil, and it comes from coconut oil. It's a part of coconut oil that they split it out.
Oh,
turkey tail mushrooms are also fantastic, I've heard. If you watch the movie Fungi, which if you have Netflix is free, it's amazing. Marvelous. One of the most beautifully photographed films I've seen in a long time. She talks about turkey tail, how he had just found out about turkey tail when his mother needed it, and she's for medicinal purpose, which I will not discuss because I don't know. I've never done it, but MCT oil lifts me up, and I'd like to try lion's mane. I just haven't gotten there.
Yeah, it's good. There's so much out there to try. My son bought some mango leaf tea and a mango leaf tincture that you're supposed to take in the morning, and it does give me a lot of energy. It's supposed to help with your metabolism and your brain function, so that it's like makes you happy. Really. Yeah. Lori, I love this. You keep hearing it's time to begin to thrive. I've been in survival mode so much of my life. Teresa Ford, being an observer on the planet where I have nothing from the past here to draw on. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think it's that happens so often that we're in survivor mode. I have I don't know if you've ever seen her before. Rachel Grant. She's that's her book. It's Beyond Surviving. She's an author and a coach and a therapist and a or psychologist,
Hmm.
but she's going to be on tomorrow and talking about that, about going beyond surviving, and she'll be on at 5. So
Okay.
anyway, yeah.
5 our time, 5 Central Time.
Yeah, 5 Central.
You got
Thanks.
to remember there's 6 time zones in America, and
Right?
then we go to Finland.
Yeah, Finland and all over. Yeah, I haven't. I bought some stuff some spores to try to grow mushrooms,
Hmm.
and then they arrived, and that was the easy part, getting them in my mailbox. But then there's a lot to do, Willow, to grow them. So yeah,
Yeah, but they're renewable and they can be grown in a small space,
yeah.
and they don't require putting pollutants in the ground. So
Yeah, I think that's going to be the way of the future, is a lot of people
do
doing
you
that.
know? Do you ever watch Sorted Foods?
Mm-mm.
Oh, go watch it. It's a British channel, and they've been on for a long time. They have people on the show they call normals, who are just people with food, and then they have chefs that teach them how to. But their whole thing is sustainability and how to get food that's sustainable. And the show they did yesterday was things you can add in to what you normally eat. Like they made a bolognese sauce, and it had all the things you expect in your bolognese sauce, but they also put lentils in, which added a meat type texture. But lentils are renewable, whereas, and the whole show is about the World Wildlife Group is having a whole push to get people to broaden what they cook with, because they talk about it in the show. We only really eat for meat 5 different animals, and the number of plants we really eat that we have for grains, there's like 10, but there's thousands that there could be, and they just grow much more naturally because these others have all been engineered, and it's such a stress on the planet. But anyway, it's called Sorted Foods. I happen to like it. Of course, I was married to a Brit, so I have no trouble understanding them. I don't think, but I think their British English is so good, and they're really, really funny guys. But they talk about a lot of things about sustainability, and one of the things they said that during the pandemic, when everybody was in lockdown, that food waste just plummeted in Britain, and that now that people can get to the stores and they don't know what to do with certain things, that food waste is going back up. And it's one of the things they talk about is how to use bananas in all their stages, including when they get black and oogie looking.
Yeah, we've got my brother lives in Nottingham, and I go there at least
Mm-hmm.
every other year and
Mm-hmm.
stay for a month. And it's so nice because their shops are like, they don't have the big American sizes of, it,
Mm-hmm.
it's a small portion of asparagus or a smaller portion
Mm-hmm.
of salmon that you buy, and you mix it all together, and
Yeah.
you get used to that, and it's just it is really nice. And plus they're a small nation, and everything comes from the coast, a lot of it, and or else from Europe, not so much anymore, but it doesn't take so long. It's not driving across a big nation like the United States or Canada.
Oh, it's not at all. We
Yeah.
would, when I was there with my husband, who was British, but he'd lived in London, and he never drove a car in England because he never had a car till he came to the United States. And we would map out where we were going to go, beyond the fact that the roads are incredibly twisty and funny, and beyond the fact I come from a state where, we'll go 2 hours to get to a restaurant because we're crazy. But we'd map out what we were going to do, and we'd get in the car, and the town we thought we were going to have lunch in, we were through by 10:30 in the morning. I mean, because miles don't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really nice. I like that. I don't mind that having a smaller, and they say that that kind of a village atmosphere
Mm-hmm.
is what we need to sustain our. Well, this is a whole different show, but what we need to sustain our infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
The, not just when you know all about that, not just from taxes, but from
Mm-hmm.
being able to support everybody,
Mm-hmm.
like multifamily, single family housing, commercial, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of industrial, and that tax infrastructure, and then also the physical infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know where I got that. Sorry. That's
People
another.
want to know if we're getting downloads about creating our own small communities. You eventually do create your own small community. So even if you're in a big, vast space, and then you have to, it takes some work, but you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Willow, I have been looking at land. That's like my little thing that I do for myself. If I've got an
Mm-hmm.
extra hour or two, I'm on Zillow and I'm looking at land. And I love it, but I keep hearing it's not the time to buy yet.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah. Oh, your son's creating small homes for all the people you're collecting. Okay, I'm gonna sign up, Willow. Because I really feel like it's a great it's a great idea. And yeah, your family lives multi-generational, Julie. Mine does too.
Mine does too.
Yeah.
And then there's the cats.
Oh, and the dog. Hello.
We don't have a dog.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Claudia. I didn't know you were here. She has an environmental Facebook page. Um, anyone's local. SEIU.
SEIU, it's a union.
Oh, okay.
I know. My son's working for them in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, setting up voter registration programs.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's the other thing we can do. I'm not going to go there, but I'll go there for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are going to choose to not vote because they're confused and they're nuts. But there's been a lot of people who've never voted and never even really thought about voting. In Dallas, it's been as high as 50% of the people who could be eligible to vote aren't even registered. And you can't vote unless you're registered. And instead of continuing to mine the people who are registered, my son's company goes out and it finds new voters, gives them voter education, gets them registered, and then helps them get to the polls. And that's a whole pool of people no one's looking at. And the SEIU is very, very active in that.
That's awesome. I love that. Love that.
Yeah. Dallas has gardens. Dallas has areas in East Dallas where we have, we call it the Asian community garden because mostly Asians work it. And you can get the weirdest stuff you've ever seen.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah. We get a lot of immigrants in our area.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was an immigrant in this area. And it's like they well, number one, they bring a richness to the food and everything
Mm-hmm.
else and the strength. But yeah, we have a lot of markets that are just like people from Vietnam or
Mm-hmm.
wherever, and the Sudan, and interesting vegetables and
Yes.
fruits. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for being here, Nancy Jean. This
Well,
went
thank you for
different
having me.
twists and turns, and it was really interesting today. So, yeah. So, I hope we will see you all later, and you're going to be on tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 1,
1.
and I'm going to be doing sort of a spring show about, I'm going to go out and talk to Hogarth and find out what he thinks we need. Hogarth is my tree. I have a tree that's on a ley line, and he's very interesting looking tree, and I need to go out and talk to him. I kept saying, I want to find a ley line. I want to find a ley line. And then someone told me, look for a tree with gnarls on it, and then look around and see if you can see another tree with gnarls on it. And when ley lines run under trees, they bring so much earth energy through that the trees like overgrow. They grow these burls. burls things on them. And I looked out my front door and I went, holy crap, there's this giant tree with burls. But then I'd go around, well, where's the ley line go? I couldn't figure it out. Last winter, all of a sudden, a big yellow stripe went down the greenway, just this, like, it looked like the yellow brick road, no shit. And it went under Hogarth and it went out the other side into a stream bed down below. And I went, oh, is that a ley line? So I brought out my my dowsing, my pendulums, and I could not stand on that ley line for too long. There's so much energy there. And then I was introduced to Hogarth. He started telling me all about it. So and ley lines are expanding every time we go through one of our quarterly shifts on the planet. They go, and it's really interesting. But they actually did come and talk to me in my sleep, the elementals, and said, we had to paint the damn thing so you'd find it. So, and this winter, that yellow line didn't come back.
Oh, wow.
And I talked to a guy who's lived here a long time. He walks his dog over there. He said, yeah, we couldn't figure out why the yellow line showed up down the parkway. I didn't tell him why it showed up. I just said, oh, how interesting.
Yeah. I feel like we're weaving the ley lines now too. Like they're weaving in and out.
And they're getting straighter. And they're getting straighter and they're getting less wandery. So,
yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yes, right. Angela, I said 1 o'clock. Central time, not finish time. Translates to.
I love it. All right, everybody. Well, please like and subscribe to both channels. Also, Nancy Jean has lots of things available on crystaldirections.com, her website. And if you want to book a reading with either one of us, that information is in the description too. So, all right, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you, Nancy Jean.
Okay, I'm sorry I made you run over. Goodbye.
Bye.